So, the new seven-a-side competition, World Sevens Football, kicks off in Lisbon tomorrow. It's a 3-day tournament, and Rach will be going to watch the games on Friday when the semi-finals and the final is taking place. We had a head of football at World Sevens Football, Adrian Jacob, on the pod last month talking about all of the tournament details and his time at Chelsea. So go and check that out now if you haven't already. You can also find it in your usual podcast places or on our YouTube channel at Upfront Pod. Since we spoke to Adrian, we now know the 8 teams taking part in the tournament. So, surprise, surprise, Man United, I wonder why. Man City, Ajax, Benfica, Roma, Paris Saint-Germain, Rosengard and Bayern Munich. Rachel, what do we kind of make of this selection of teams and their intentions for competing in this very lucrative tournament?
I think it's a really nice selection in terms of different types of football, maybe different qualities of football, and I think a nice spread of like talent. It's going to be interesting to see in terms of what players go, what players play. You know, obviously with the Euros coming up, there's going to be players who are protected or not brought along. I think Man City's squad haven't brought a lot of their stars, which is understandable, and given quite a few of them are injured, are prioritising their recovery. But I think I think a lot of people are judging it already before it's happened. I think I'm okay with trying new things. I've talked about not liking more football necessarily being added to the calendar. I thought the timing of it was unusual in terms of starting in Europe when there's a Euros in the middle of the summer. But at the same time, in terms of what to expect from the teams and how they turn up to it, I think it's really intriguing. Like, you know, the prize pot's big. It's like bigger than the Champions League prize pot. So it's a very attractive option. But then you don't know who's going to necessarily be good at it because it's 7v7. So like you must be coming in with a little bit of like trepidation, goals to want to win it, but with no real like idea of how it's going to go. I think it could be very interesting.
It's such a weird change of strategy trying to adapt to a seven-a-side, which is inevitably going to be quicker, pacier, hopefully more goals, punchier. It's not about kind of, you know, waiting for your chances or, you know, countering on the break. It's like, it's actually everyone has to go hell for leather for a very short, sustained period of time. So I think the intensity is going to be super high. And I think like when you look at those kind of teams, I mean, those are top level teams. I think that was the worry initially, that you were going to get sort of, teams that people maybe weren't that interested in going out to Portugal to go and see because the top teams would maybe protect their players from all the international commitments. But there's some heavy hitters in that group, really heavy hitters. Like the thought of going to see PSG up against United. I'm really super excited. Like Bayern Munich up against Man City. I think like some of these matchups like you wouldn't really see unless it was like, a Champions League game. So yeah, I do think it kind of spices things up in, having the ability to have teams from different countries play against each other that wouldn't naturally come across each other, even the Champions League.
And I think the fact that it's moving around, so it'll be in different parts of the country or the world, is important because, you know, it should be used to shine a light on teams that maybe wouldn't get a lot of the attention. So I'm intrigued to see how they pick and choose the teams going forward, because it could be a nice opportunity to put them on a bigger stage. But it's just really hard to predict how it's going to go because it's such an unusual format and not something where it's not even five-a-side. You know what I mean? Like it's something we're not used to at all. So Marc Skinner said it was going to be chaotic. So I'm intrigued to see how they're planning to go out and play because I don't know. Is he putting Fallon Joyce up front? Like, why is it going to be chaotic?
Of course he's weighed into this. He's very much been very vocal about Man United's involvement in the tournament. So he said it's tactically going to be crazy, which I think is what we want. We want carnage. It will make everyone laugh and it is entertaining. What? My players want to play in it. We'll have to learn the format as we go. The first one will just be utter carnage and fun. We've listened to our players on this. If they didn't want to go, we generally wouldn't put our name in it. The ones that don't want to, there's 3 or 4 players who have pulled out for their own personal reasons, will still get any prize money if we win. Chaos, carnage, fun, entertainment. Why is it going to make people laugh? Going for a laugh.
No, make people laugh. What, like you're going to be juggling while you're playing? I don't understand. What's the...
I'm not too sure. I feel a little bit concerned that that's the approach that he's going to be taking to this kind of like clown-like tournament that I think he thinks he's participating in. I think it's going to be entertaining, and I agree with the sentiments that it is going to be very chaotic.
Flair, excitement... skills.
Intensity, like high pressure, a lot at stake with the money. Absolutely get that. But make everyone laugh. I don't know. Maybe there's some crazy halftime shows involved.
Hey, listen, we're laughing now, so it worked.
Yeah, well, I think it's Mark laughing at his comments rather than anything else, but we will see, Mark, actually, whether that comes to fruition. The prize money pool for this tournament is $5 million, so that's £3.76 million. Skinner also said, it's a reason why we entered. No, you're doing it for the love of the game, surely. For our team, where we don't have Chelsea, Arsenal or Man City's budget, it's huge if we're going to be successful. If we can take that money, it would be a massive pot for us to recruit with. We have lofty ambitions to win the WSL title in 2028, but it's also for fun. There's so much to unpack in this sentence, I think.
I'm quite concerned that this is going to be a prize pot that if they win it, that's where they'll get their recruitment from. I mean, to be fair, Manchester United are a very, very poor club. God love them.
That's
very
the thing.
Rarely make much money.
First off, one of the richest clubs in the world, and also report to have the biggest fan
up on Marc
base.
Skinner this whole episode.
He brings it on himself. He says ridiculous crap, Rach. This is stupid. It's going to be huge for us. That's how we're going to basically structure our recruitment every summer. Is how we compete in the World Sevens. Is how we're going to recruit over summer.
What worries me is if they get knocked out, they'll be like, oh, sorry.
Couldn't buy anyone this year.
No money.
You're in the richest club in the world. You report to have the biggest fan base globally across the world. You report to have something like 1 billion fans across the planet. Don't tell me that your entire recruitment strategy is based on this ridiculous tournament that's only just come about this year. Then the second part of that is lofty ambitions to win the WSL title. Absolutely all for it. That should have been the full stop in 2028. Rach, what do you make of that?
A bit longer than I thought they were going for.
Man United are a consistent top 4 team, have been in and around, they just won the Champions League spot for the second time in their history, but WSL title in 2028.
Well, Chelsea won it the last 6 years in a row.
But there's a lack of ambition there. That is ridiculous. 2028.
Well, they don't have the money that Chelsea have. He just said it.
I can't with this man.
Lads, please help us.
It honestly beggars belief. As a player, thinking, your manager said, okay, well, not this year, obviously, not next year, not even 2027, but 2028, we might have a chance. I don't know. It depends how you guys compete in the World Sevens.
If you don't win this, we will not be getting in anyone else to help you on the pitch.
It takes away the pressure from the players.
The way Jim Ratcliffe's been cutting stuff left, right, and centre, I'm not surprised they don't have much of a budget.
Absolute madness. That whole paragraph is just content gold to unpack.
It's carnage. It's chaos. It's funny.
But it's also for fun. It can't be that funny. It can't be that funny when your entire recruitment strategy is based on how well you do. It can't be fun. It's a very serious tournament, by all accounts, for your squad. So I don't know what more to say on that, to be honest. Each club travels with a 25-player squad with 14 selected per game. Roller substitutions are unlimited, but only 7 players can be on the pitch at any time. Man United and Man City have released their squad. Man City's is slightly probably what you'd expect for a club that wants to protect its biggest and baddest players. Man United's, on the other hand, a little bit more kind of what you would expect to see for a tasty WSL game. So you've got there Fallon Tallis-Joyce, you've got Maya Letizia, you've got Millie Turner, Grace Clinton, Ella Toone, Bizet, Galton, Turland, Mallard, all your big names, and some of which are expected obviously to take part in the Euros. So there's no protection here from United. So
well, they did say that players had the option of whether they wanted to come or not. So that's that.
What do you think the international managers are making of all this? When you see, I don't know, the likes of Grace Clinton and Ella Toone, what do you think Serena's thinking about their involvement?
I'm sure she wants them protected, but to be honest, she doesn't have any say in it. In the same way people were raging that Lauren James got injured on international duty and blamed Serena, it is what it is. They're currently contracted to their clubs, and in this time period, they're contracted to their clubs. So, I'm sure it's frustrating and she'd want them protected, but it's probably maybe an element of players wanting to try it out. They might not even be playing that much, it's 15-minute halves and rolling subs. So it doesn't give them much of a break, which is a bit of a shame because, come next week, we're back into an international window again. So, look, it's that balance. I can see it from both sides. I can understand Man City wanting to protect the players and having a lot of injuries and want to just test it out and see. And I can understand maybe another team going, well, apparently we need this money, so let's get our big stars out there to see what happens.
I think it's it's a difficult decision to take as a player because obviously you want to play as much football as you can, and also when there's women's players aren't on shed tons of money. Man United players notoriously not on any money at all because their budgets are non-existent.
They are paid.
But at the same time, like as a player, you'd be thinking, okay, well this could be quite a lucrative summer to make quite a bit of money for me to just because, well, why not? Like, they're not paid substantial amounts of money that they'll be able to retire and jet off into the sunset after their career. So, like, they do have to think about these kind of things. But also, I think, especially for the players, the international players, the ones that you expect to be in the Euros, it's a massive, massive risk. I think when you look at, like, the tournament and it being 7-a-side and the smallness of the smaller pitches, you're going to be faced with more intense training environments, more intense matches. It's going to be pretty much going hell for leather. And there's no real solid research about like how that's going to impact the players and the kind of the increased risk that could put on the players. So I think it's just a very risky time it's a risky decision, I think, for tournament players to be taken at this point. But
and the games are Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, aren't they? So they're like
there's no recovery.
Back.
So there's no research about like what this tournament is gonna, like what it entails and like how much pressure it's actually gonna put on these players. So like that for me, that's the thing that I'd have in the back of my mind if I was a player.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Let's see how it goes.
We could have saved it by not doing the very first one in Europe. But here we are.
Yes, we could have saved it for next year when there was a really good big break, long summer of no football. But, who cares? Man City are playing FC Rosengard in the first match tomorrow, and Man United are playing Roma. What do we think our tournament predictions are for these two English teams? Like, how far do we think we'll actually go? Like,
I have no idea. I have no frame of reference. I couldn't tell you because I feel like I need to see all the lists of players going from all the teams to try and I don't know how to even judge this. Who's going to be good at it? Like, they're all good teams. Like, genuinely, I'm just like, I have no idea how this might go. It's going to be exciting, but I literally couldn't tell you. I'm hoping they do well. Part of me is like, though, if they don't get into the semis and the finals, that's less football to play. Maybe that's a good thing.
I actually think Man United stand a really good chance. I feel like they've gone into it like with a super ridiculous squad. They obviously like 100% want that prize pot. I think PSG as well. I think they're going to go into it like all guns blazing. I think it'll be really interesting to like see how they get on. So yeah, I think Man City have gone into it a little bit more reserved, which is completely understandable. But I do think United and PSG are like they're my predictions for the ones that I expect to like be the top contenders for winning this. Yeah, the inaugural one. I think that's a biggie.